Hello there. Thanks for stopping by. I'm really excited to share with you my podcast equipment setup, and stick around to the end of the video for some extra goodies. Basically, running my own podcast and helping others set up their podcasts and managing podcasts for hosts and people who just want to create great content. A lot of people have asked me, hey, what does your equipment look like? Now, we're not going to dive into the setup or the software or the process of post-production. We're really just going to cover the equipment that I use. Let me preface with saying this is a very optimized and professional setup. I'm nowhere near where some people are or where I want to be. I'm always making changes and always adding new, fun, expensive tools to my repertoire. But this is for people where you're at like, hey, I've started my podcast. We're doing great. I want to up the value. Or even if you're just looking for tiny ways to up the value here and there, this is for you. If you're starting a podcast, a $100 USB mic, $50 pair of headphones, and a $16 a month Zoom account will do you justice. Maybe a webcam or a good riser for your laptop to get a good angle from your laptop webcam will work well for you in the long run. But really just get out there and create the content if you're just starting. If you're looking to optimize, or even if you are like, hey, I'm just starting, but I really want to make sure I have a great mic, or I really want to make sure I at least have a great camera setup, you can definitely use this video. But again, don't let that hold you back. You don't need to have all this stuff set up to start creating your content. So let me share my screen here and we'll dive right in. Let's start first about audio, right? So this is what I use for audio. It's the Shure MV7 podcast microphone. It's a great setup. I used to have the Blue Yeti mic. I like this a little bit more because the sound quality is a little bit better. You can see it reflected in the price from a $100 microphone to a $219 microphone. What I like about this microphone too is it gives you some flexibility, whether you want to plug directly into the computer or laptop using USB, or if you want to go into an audio interface using XLR. Obviously with XLR, it's a little bit more complicated and you need additional equipment to get XLR quality into the computer, but XLR is studio grade quality. So the XLR provides better quality, but it is harder to set up. So whether you want to do USB, get started quickly, and then move into an XLR setup later on, this is a great mic for flexibility. If you are going to do XLR, you're going to need what's called an audio interface. And so this right here is the XLR input. So you can plug the XLR cable from the microphone into the audio input, and then this will plug USB into your computer. This allows you to be able to generate an XLR signal from the microphone into the computer without needing USB. So this is what I currently use right now, and it's a great little tool. When it comes to XLR cables, don't skimp. Quality is everything. The quality of the wire within the cable dictates how well the signal comes through. The better the cable, the clearer the signal. This was specifically recommended to me by a couple studio engineers that I know in Los Angeles, who said, hey, if you're not going to spend more than $150 on a cable for about half the price, this is a great buy. Don't skip out on a $20 cable. Look to spend a good $50 to $75 on a nice XLR cable. Another thing about cables and cable management, always buy more length than you think you're going to need. I made the mistake very early on of buying a cable that I thought I was going to need 3 feet for because it's this close to my setup. But then I forgot that in terms of cable management, I'm running a wire down the boom arm, across the desk, up another boom arm. And so I actually needed more length than I thought. My rule of thumb is usually 3 times more length than you think you're going to need. So instead of a 3 foot, I went for the 10 foot. Trust me, you don't want to have to be returning a bunch of cables because they weren't long enough. I use a boom arm for the microphone. I do not like studio tripods for the desk because once the desk gets hit, it becomes a little noisier if you bump your knee. The boom arm adds for a little bit more control and stability. I do like this boom arm, I will say, because the springs that are built in are so sturdy, it makes it hard when I want to take it from this and put the microphone down. Sometimes it like still moves up a little bit and I have to readjust a lot. So the springs are almost too good, but this is a nice sturdy microphone arm that clamps on right to the side of your desk. There are some lower priced options around around like $65, but I would say, spend the extra $30, get the industry standard. For headphones, I use these right now. They're Bluetooth headphones from PlayStation, the Pulse 3D wireless headset. This is the newer version of their headphones. They used to have the PlayStation Pros, which I loved. The PlayStation Pro Gold headset, actually, I feel had better battery power than this. This will last for about an hour and a half of straight of listening to music or if I get through a podcast or a 1-hour LinkedIn Live, I usually have to recharge these. And I do make sure that they're completely charged walking into that call because I don't want them to die in the middle of the conversation. If you like wired headphones, these are great to get started. They're only $50. The better version, the better version of these are about $200. You'll notice the quality, but you may not need the quality just yet in terms of listening back to yourself, or even just being able to hear your guests. These $50 ones should do you just fine if you want to plug directly into the computer or the audio interface. For a camera, again, if you're using the MacBook webcams are as good as these 1080p Logitech webcams, but the problem is some people only have them on a small riser, and so your visual is constantly getting underneath your neck or at your chin. You want it to be risen up at least at eye level, so that's why I recommend using a webcam. This is a great webcam under $100 to get started. If you can go around 125 to 150, there are some better webcams that are almost stream-like quality that Logitech and others offer, but this is a great starter webcam. I used this webcam for a very long time until I upgraded to what I have now, which is my DSLR. I love this DSLR because it's the most affordable DSLR under under 1,200 that shoots 4K. I feel like it used to be more affordable. I feel like it was 500 when I bought it, and now it's 700, maybe even 550 when I bought it. So I don't know if cameras get more expensive over time, but I feel like it did a little bit. 16 megapixels, great LCD view here that I can look at and run through. There's a lot of YouTube videos. A lot of people use this camera. You can find a lot of great settings for it. My only two qualms is the software from Panasonic to get everything into the computer is a little outdated and not as good as Sony or Canon, so I have to use different software and different workflows to be able to capture that into the computer directly. And then the mount here is not a universal mount for a lot of lenses that are industry standard, so you have to buy an additional mounting piece when you upgrade your lenses, which makes it a little bit more complicated. But you know, you're saving almost 50% on the price of what it would cost to get a different 4K camera. So it's a great camera to get started with as a DSLR. You don't want to run battery power when you're recording content on a DSLR or on your lights. You want them all plugged into a power source. So I use this. It's the battery pack right here. Goes into an AC adapter that then plugs into an outlet. So that way my battery will not die on me mid-content recording. And then this is how I get the camera footage into the PC in real time, is this Elgato Cam Link. It's $100. It allows you to connect the camera directly into the computer. Sometimes you're going to need additional software to facilitate your recording or your transcoding of that video into a Zoom call and be able to not have any latency, which is a whole other thing we'll talk about in software setup. But this is a great 4K camera capture card. I use this backdrop for a lot of content because it allows me to put a custom background for branding on a lot of the things I do. I don't have it up right now, but it's really easy to stow away. Under the couch, I pull it out, pull the little legs out, open the canister, and pull the screen up. Only $159, great product built by Elgato. It's a collapsible green screen, which allows me to also do a cutout of myself on streams and things of that nature, key out all the background and everything. It's really awesome. For a key light, I use this Viltrox light. It's a smaller light. I think there are probably better lights for the money, but this is what I'm using right now. I'm actually exploring different options because I don't feel like it's a strong enough light, even though I have it on the highest setting. I connect it on top of the camera via this little horseshoe mount here at the bottom that you'll see, and that's what I use for my key light. And of course, I run it, not the battery power. I use the direct plug with the power source. For my back and my fill lights, I use these GVM LED video lights. I got the RGBs. If you don't see RGB, it means they won't have color functionality, so I can do red, green, blue, yellow, purple, whatever I want to do. I did that because when I was shooting a lot of photography, I had a white muslin cloth, and so I could just do a color on the back of the muslin cloth, and it looked like a completely different colored backdrop. So it allowed me not to have to buy a bunch of different colored backdrops. It allowed me to have a little bit more control. I don't really use that much anymore, so I would be fine with just regular LED lights. But these are great, and they have a whole little case and everything and stands. The stands are actually breaking on me after 2.5 years, so I got to buy some new stands finally, but they've been pretty sturdy up to this point. And then I use these for mounts for things. In addition to the Viltrox key light, I have a a ring light that a company I was working with gave me last Christmas. And it's a smaller ring light. You can get the big ring light that then has a mount for the camera in the middle. That might work for you too for a key light, but I like to have a little bit of extra light to make things extra bright and visible because the room gets really dark here and I don't use a lot of natural lighting because I like to control my lighting. So I have that on a stand here, and I use these stands. And the reason I use these stands is, number one, they're very affordable, $35 for 2 of them. But 2, they're really sturdy. And 3, they're really tall. And so my setup is mounted, everything's raised because I have to clear a laptop that I have here with my other monitors. So all the other ones go up to about 34 inches. And so my camera could never be put above my monitor. So I had to get one that was really tall, and these go up to 45 inches. So it allows me to get everything above and over the monitors. Some people like the ones that bend. I don't like those because the fulcrums tend to be weak, especially on these spring-loaded ones, and so the weight of the camera, the light, will typically bend it and it won't stay anyways, unless you're going to get one of these smaller ones with a ball point right there, or you're going to come out of the pocket. Really expensive for some of these Olzani movable arms and things like that. I say these work great. Like, they're really tall, so you won't be able to move them closer to you because they won't bend, but they can clear a larger setup. So a lot of people do have their monitors like down here. I have my monitors basically like right here. So mine are raised, so this helps me clear the monitor and be able to accomplish what I need to accomplish. So that is my setup. That's what I use with my lighting, my audio, my visual, and then some of the additional little things that I have with the stands in order to make sure that I'm effectively able to record my content. I'll try to dive into a software walkthrough and a process walkthrough, and then maybe even a post-production walkthrough. But it's a little tricky for me because a lot of that was actually set up with the help of 2 people, Garen Parkins, the CEO and founder of DeskRig, and Josh Feedy, the CEO and founder of SalesReach.io. They both create a lot of content and were able to help me put together not only some of this equipment, but also the workflow of how everything connects into one another. So you can message me. I may have the questions for you when it comes to workflow and software. I may not, but I can give you like some basic principles in the next video that I do, as well as cover some of the like starter principles that you could probably do and build off of. But I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. I hope it was helpful. If you found it helpful or there's something else you'd like me to cover, please send me a message. Let me know. Until then, see you next time. Thank you.